Yeah, I'll pick this up with line 133. Gather thus and not be taken, hither lies be not mistaken. Erroneous words for hungry ears, banter for to build such fears. Shackled thus behind the lout, interloped, left love in drought, their debt for which their master came to pay in full, themselves to blame. One-way journey undertaken, shackled such and thus forsaken. The time is past to be mistaken, from nightmares they will not awaken. For truth is often not the loudest, nor the strongest or the proudest, often heard by finer ears and found aplenty mongst the modest. Its strength is had by stouter hearts of much resolve and better smarts, for fear we all can do without, as well the lyings of the lout. Of Semla thither not to be, I am around, but not to see. A verse to flaunt, but what had she? What song to sing? I am but me. I am but me and you are not, I will be when you all rot. If I could die, you know I would, lonely I be, and wish I could. Your anger thus I do not mind, eternal life is so unkind. Be my friend here by my side, angry, yes, just get in line. Sing my songs, be with me too, they make me anything but blue. Yes, my skin is made of gold, when the world was young, I was old. The nether neither nowheres meet, their carcasses crawling, cringing, creeping. Surpass them all the spiritual thief, tangled in tangibles and strangling strings. Pompous pious pretenders be, lacking luster, blustered bother. Such righteous claim my soul it seems, my dreams they wholly wantonly smother. Much more to be had by spiritual thieves, no faith here but common belief. Judge them all and rip asunder, be as God and speak as thunder. Take as yours what's ours and theirs, choose your excuse with mocking cares. Moving up, is that what you think? Such ways lead down, perpetual stink. Each one as one shall be recalled, not as fodder for the prim. Ascendant noses primed to fall, and seen were steps upon the whim. Never, nether, nowheres wander, easy prey they'll often seek. Of theirs they'll always squander, of theirs they'll always ever squander. Rape the good and drain the meek. The primping piglet made for water, the wanton ducks were growing hotter. The lying nether nowheres lay on their couches, lives at bay. Lidless, listless, lifeless dreams, laughless neither, never screams. Nether nowheres ever be, somewheres drowning, saltless seas. What dreams are dreamt till morning's light, what longings sated through the night, what images pass on as they do sleep, what dreams are had by wolf-clothed sheep. Northwesterly the mountains be, volcanoes long extinct, but don't ask me what year it be, 326 I think. The Sutton flowed through upland wold, a glacier-carved crevasse. What vineyards lay amidst decay and fertile mountain pass. Majestic tarn nearby a barn or cellars cast to keep, were fruit of mine caught in a bind, goblins for to reap. A weary lass trapped in the pass by Izzard's rapt attention. She hid below in cellars low for pregnancy's prevention. Fair maiden lie do decry in perils fraught with woes. In ebon light and somber fright against the night she rode. What stallion's fate by moonlit lake where beasts of night had risen? He fought well and broke the spell of fright the maiden was in. Again in flight by full moon's light she made the journey through the blight. Hill and dale, on through the vale, or yonder dips and heights. Down the road where brigands goad, where fell the men of highway, where beasts of night bare teeth that bite and stalk the lonely byway. Where three roads met, some one had set, and in with floors of three. With pangs that ache, she made a mistake, and oh, what a foul man was he. Once more to flight by mid-morning's light, her hunger now quenched, much to her delight. A village ahead, that's where the path led, its walls no more welcome a sight. What walls, great and mighty, grew less than unsightly, they ceased in a matter of paces. What foundless facade grew groundless to laud, through trees but a false-fronted face. Unfortunate fate, the guards at the gate, the man from the inn where they like. They two and she one with no place to run, she fought them with all of her might. Dagger in sleeve she yielded to please, acquiescent and feigning dismay. But for old Fred she would be dead and lost beneath tall stacks of hay. Stab one she did, and the other Fred hid. A drunken brawl had apparently transpired. For Jenna this story left Fred with no glory, one-sided, no need to conspire. Thompson was he, and farmer he be, but of a height of twice my knee. What lacked he in height, he made up for in might, a fool, but would reckon with he. The call of a raven before their new haven startled them into awareness. The year 326 found Jenna's dire fix before Ashton's west gate in all fairness. Darkwater Inn, debauchery and sin, synonymous were they, what rebel went in. Yet here they would pass the day to the last, amidst all the ruckus and din. Jenna did call an empty mare stall, donning a burlap grain sack. Dress finer would she and later be seen, for persage Fred presently did lack. At 9:15 a dwarf came to dine from the mountains up north, to be sure, not wanting to ask what crusted that axe, or of hardships so great to endure. A king's son was he, though not king to be, from father's halls was he spurned. Cast out on a whim, unneeded he'd been, his fortune his own to be earned. Though gold he did crave, infrequently he bathed, his demeanor was far less than rosy. Grumpy for loot, and stinky to boot, the bugs in his beard appeared cozy. Fast friendships were made, his tabs yet unpaid demanded attention, and were soon addressed. In came a warning as night turned to morning, a farmer and somewhat distressed. My sheep, they were taken, and be not mistaken, for I know where my sheep have been going. Goblins, I reckon this town needs protectin', and goblins were they to be knowing. For goblins Fred hated, they're so overrated, for who can I trust on this errand? I'll need but a few, strong-willed ones will do, lest our town and fields become barren. Drink up tonight, we'll leave at first light, the clamor dismissed with a wave. If well all does go, I'll stick them on poles around my sheep, there'll be none so brave. Jenna was led upstairs to her bed by Fred and by Mithrax the dwarf. Return I will later, let not them berate her, be careful and board you the door. A thief in the night came after midnight, waking the girl and the dwarf, who ran him outrightly, then left to what might be a safer alternative recourse. The good Thompson's Inn down further had been, where inside they found again Fred, for not had they known that this inn he owned, with family whose he somewhat led. Amber was small, of course she knew all, and had many a cousin to call. A real social queen, she always was seen, as generous and loved most by all. To Fred she was cousin, removed by a dozen, of dread he was gone, out of town. Off to Drakmar, which wasn't too far, for seed, nigh well to be sown. Edgar came next, and he ran the desk, with Elmo in charge of the door. Eli drew baggage of horse and of carriage, porter and groom of a sort. Dread, second oldest, in business was boldest, not much for the life of adventure. He ran the town when Fred wasn't around, worked he like a servant indentured. The baron uptown most likely would frown, knew he of the Thompsons and Inn. By name did he rule, though weak and a fool, nephew to the Duke had he been. Rich from the trade pertaining to slaves, for the Duke's hand a washbowl was he. One to be feared when foes disappeared, the Duke had no enemies to see. A would-be fell tyrant related to pirates of Black Lake and the great Inland Sea. His daughter was round, no suitor to be found, the name of some flower had she. Catania was fair, ebony long hair, ill-tempered, like a rabid wolf. A dragon's heart had she, cold and dark if need be, accept it and don't ask for proof. Claudia was bold and very, very old, to her kin long lives were endowed. Yet youthful to see, sorceress she be, nothing lost need ever be found. New to her craft with shiny new staff, as babysitting was just not her thing. On babes she would cast spells to make them sit fast, less trouble this way would they bring. Esmeralda was seen as not quite as mean as her father the barbarian king. Horn helmet she wore, bit hard to ignore, in mail she was clad made of rings. Of Sutton held was she, the land of the free, as long as the tariff was paid. Of Yaco her dad he wasn't so bad, as long as no errors were made. Catania was bad, for friends she was glad, to end fights for which she was renowned. Child of the highway, roadside and byway, atop dung in a cart was she found. The maid at the inn an old enemy had been, Catania did settle the score. One bump on the nose and oops, there she goes, now who's gonna clean up the floor? Fred liked his liquor, not good for his ticker, his undoing was he told it would be. To dread he was smart, he was an old fart, not farmer material be he. Irked Fred this did, after all but a kid, for what did he know about me? It's easy to judge and maintain a grudge when going on what one's eyes see. I may not be smart, but I view with my heart. I see things that many would miss. Wise man or fool, but rarely a tool, for all I have but this one wish. For life demands all kinds with all sorts of minds, the destiny of one for that one to choose. Work hard and you'll see that anything can be where freedom reigns, one cannot lose. Yeah, you gotta remember, that's Fred Thompson, Thomsson, like Hanson, two S's. He's actually the bad guy, and this is a satire, so him talking about freedom. It's not a funny joke because, when you consider what he did, facilitating the 9/11 attacks, well, actually letting the GRU facilitate the 9/11 attacks through his conspiracy, to get even with us for, intervening in the Soviet occupation of Afghanistan back in the 80s, because they're terrorists, so they support terrorism deliberately, as a means to get even. Between that and everything leading up to 2020, 2020 was supposed to happen, when the 9/11 attacks happened, and it comes down to shutting down all the, the divisive propaganda and stuff like that, all the stuff that they've been working on since Khrushchev was the premier of the Soviet Union. But you got your indigenous Marxist conspiracy or domestic Marxist conspiracy, and they're all about, well, it came down to, having that window closing rapidly in regards to all of the World War II related legal non-disclosure clauses, which happened in 2020, and those are basically the clauses that they were exploiting, based on, the things that were done to defeat Hitler. He was put first, even though Stalin was as bad as Hitler, if not worse. But that's the way that pretty much rolls. Things are forgotten, sometimes purposefully. Most of it had been declassified, but all it takes is one bad guy invoking, those legal non-disclosure clauses, kind of like Hanson did, in regards to former President Reagan to facilitate his assassination attempt. But all it takes is one bad guy to do that. You know what I'm saying? Knowing where knowing where the bodies are buried. That's another Hanson quote. Like I said, that rabbit holes, tea parties. Stick with the rodent warren. Like I said, this will be under copyright at least until 99 years after I die, which hopefully will not be today.